Bushmeat provides an essential source of protein and income for livelihoods. However, its consumption is linked to the transmission of zoonotic diseases like Ebola, monkeypox, and COVID-19. And unsustainable bushmeat hunting is a major threat to many wildlife species. This, among other issues, will be our focus on this week's edition of Green Angle. Welcome. I am Esther Mofariola.
Illegal bushmeat is on sale in our cities, risking extinction and our health. We've become a centre for ivory and pangolin smuggling. So please report wildlife crime and say no to illegal bushmeat. And let's work together to win for Nigeria. Keep them wild, keep us safe.
We begin with concerns on the likely emergence of more zoonotic diseases after the World Health Organization recently confirmed the outbreak of Marburg virus in Ghana. Well, experts have attributed this latest development to man's indiscriminate hunting of wild animals, which is sold as bushmeat. It has become a delicacy for those who can afford it. It is not your everyday meat consumable. Grass cutters, bats, duikers or porcupines are hunted in the wild and sold off as bushmeat in markets across major cities in Nigeria. And this trade has a growing consumer base.
After a working hour, when I go to relax myself, I can get just a bottle and then get one piece of bushmeat. You know, grass cutter used to be very soft, and that is what made me to choose grass cutter as my common eating bushmeat.
I love it. It's good. You know, it's natural. Like everyone loves bushmeat. I don't know, but for me, I like it.
During that coronavirus, that was then that I was being discouraged. But before, I used to eat it, and it's very sweet.
2 years ago, COVID-19 put major cities across the globe on lockdown. However, several other zoonotic diseases in recent times, such as Ebola and monkeypox, have also been linked to the handling of wild animals.
But what happens with illegal wildlife trade is these animals are captured, they're put in very stressful conditions, often mixed with other species. That stress brings out these latent viruses, which are not harming the animals until they're sick, and then they become virulent, and then they can jump from species to species to species. And what we've seen with a number of these diseases is they've come from bats originally, and then have been transferred to another species. In the case of SARS, for example, it was civet cats, which were in the markets being sold. So the stress of the illegal bushmeat trade, of having live animals all piled together in very bad conditions, makes that jump much more likely.
Following the emergence of the Marburg virus in Ghana, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control says it is working to prevent an outbreak of the virus, even as no case has been reported in the country. But it warned citizens to avoid wild animals like fruit bats, which are the reservoirs of these viruses. However, wildlife conservationists believe other strategies can be adopted to limit the consumption of bushmeat.
I realize that bushmeat consumption might just spell doom to mankind. We now would have to rise up to stop it, put an end to it. We have alternatives. We have not finished consuming the farmable animals, the chickens, the goats, the cattle that we can farm and all that. So we should begin to put more emphasis on that. Conservation biology should be introduced from the primary and the secondary school level so that the next generation will grow with this mindset and will be able to put aside that dangerous activity of bushmeat consumption.
With various awareness campaigns on wildlife protection targeted at highlighting its significance to the ecosystem and the state stepping up efforts in strengthening its environmental laws, it requires a deeper understanding in realizing that humanity is a part of nature. In Nigeria, lions are extremely rare in the country, with scientists estimating that there may be fewer than 50 lions left in the wild. But conservationists say the continuous hunt for bushmeat has seriously depleted lions' natural prey base, while population growth and expansion of agricultural land has badly eaten into their habitat. A founder of a non-profit group, Wild Aid, shared his thoughts about this development and what can be done to save Nigeria's lions.
First key is proper enforcement and protections. They can't have people wandering in and hunting and doing that. They have to be protected. And I think that means training rangers, it means equipping them well. And there's a lot of projects underway, places like Gashaka Gumti, where rangers are being trained, they are being equipped, and we're trying to sort of take back the park so that it actually is protected. Because I do see a potential future here in Nigeria if Yankari, for example, could be properly protected and the elephant populations and the lion populations brought back, then I think there's a potential for tourism there. And I think if there was a park in Nigeria where people could come and see lions, and maybe we can reintroduce giraffe and some other species that have disappeared, which has been done in other countries around the world, then this could create a sort of tourist boom for Nigeria, with not just the amazing culture here, but also wildlife as an element of that tourism. Lions are obviously a top predator, probably the top predator in the African plains. And what they do is they cull and control the populations of animals underneath them in the food chain. And that can be everything from buffalo to duiker to gazelles, all these different animals, which are all part of the balance of a functioning ecosystem. I can only tell you what we've seen in the United States, for example, where a lot of our top predators, like bears and wolves, have disappeared. And what we see there is deer populations exploding in some cases. In some cases, this turns to certain types of tree can't function and can't survive when there's too many deer. They literally eat them out of existence. And so the whole ecosystem gets tipped up and unbalanced. And that can have all kinds of repercussions down the line for the health and security and stability, not just of the animals, but also the plant systems that are there. Over Africa, let's keep this culture. In every culture, in every religion, lions play a very significant cultural role. We have to keep this cultural icon going, and we have to also find ways that we can have lions be a huge tourist attraction and bring in money, create jobs, and all the other things that they can do. This means that we've got to survive. It means we've got to protect them. We've got to look at things like illegal bushmeat trade, which threatens them, and try and minimize that and maximize the chances. If the lions are protected, their numbers will come back. It's as simple as that. If they're not being poached, they're not losing their habitat, then they will come back. And it would be lovely to see the lion population not just stable, but actually increasing again in Africa.
Green Angle returns after this break. Stay with us.
Illegal bushmeat is on sale in our cities, risking extinction and our health. We've become a centre for ivory and pangolin smuggling. So please report wildlife crime and say no to illegal bushmeat. And let's work together to win for Nigeria. Keep them wild, keep us safe.
The water hyacinth plant is a very tough plant. It has a very dense root system, and that's what actually causes problems on the waterways, especially with the marine transporters, because once the weed gets entangled within their outboard engines, it gets damaged because it's a very tough fiber. And what we do is we dry the stems. So people wonder, how does it turn from green to brown? Once that water has evaporated, which is about 95%, we end up with 5% dry weight. And this is the 5% dry weight. So what we've done here is we've actually flattened the stems, because when you look at the water hyacinth, it looks very round and inflated. But by the time the water evaporates, of course, it's much lighter. And then for the intent and purposes of what we were doing here, which was to make jotter covers from this, we've now flattened the water hyacinth stem. So we've made jotter covers with this. You can actually mat this as well. And then in matting it, you can now make things like table decor, your coasters, things for computer sleeves. Very, very versatile. It actually starts with the harvesting process. So you harvest, you dry the stems. This is one form of it. And then we actually weave the stems into ropes. So these are ropes that have been woven by our home-based artisans. This is one pattern. So this is the braided pattern for we ladies that braid our hair. It looks very similar to some of the weaves we have, only that this is natural. And then we also twist into ropes as well, which is that which we have over there. And then once we have these ropes, we're then, able to create different kinds of objects or materials from these woven fibers. And this chair is one. We use the braided rope here. And as you can see, this braid is actually thicker than this one in terms of the width. So you can create different sizes. So we do gourd art. We make rugs from the water hyacinth. We also make dining ware, your placemats and coasters. So it's such a wide variety of things that can actually be created from it, which are functional, which is very important to note. So it's not just decorative, but you also have functional items as well. Typically, when we make these items, you also provide care instructions. So with your rugs, clearly you won't, because it's a natural fiber rug, you won't be walking on it with your shoes or pointed heels because that would tear the fiber. As long as you adhere to the care instructions, which are not necessarily onerous, you can have that rug last for a very, very long time. These are products that you'll enjoy in your home, but you just need to make sure that proper care is taken of these natural fiber products. There are actually 2 stages to the making of this chair. Actually, let's call it 3. So the frame of the chair has to be made from wood. So that's one stage. Then the other stage, not necessarily in chronological order, is actually the weaving of the rope that is now woven on the chair. So depending on the quantity that's required for the chair, that will determine the length of time it takes the women to actually weave the rope. This particular chair took about a day and a half. So a day and a half to 2 days to complete this particular chair. That's the weaving of it. And then you'll notice that there's kind of like a gloss on the chair. So what we've done is we've lacquered it to provide it with sort of like a thin film to cover it. So that also helps in the preservation of the fiber, such that, if somebody, especially if this is going to be a dining chair, if somebody now accidentally spills water on it, it doesn't like seep through the fiber as it, if it were to pour on this unlacquered, it would seep through, much faster than it would here. So we have a protective cover. I would say give it at least, 5 to 6 years. You might begin to see some wear, especially if it's used over and over and over again. It's a piece of functional art that actually tells a story, because every hand that has touched this, there's a story that revolves around that, from the fishermen that actually do the harvesting, or the people within the riverine community that do the harvesting. There's a story there, right, about transforming renewable resources that they never thought could be transformed into beneficial use. Here we have it, and this is the evidence.
So I get to see. No, you don't have to see.
I know that's right.
Right.
How? So is it comfortable?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's quite comfortable, I would say.
Nice. It's a nice chair, actually. Purely made of water hyacinth. I can say proudly, made in Nigeria too, right?
Absolutely.
So, Mrs. Achenyo, yeah, thank you so much. This is really a wonderful product of art priceless, if I would say, because it's really, really nice having to know that such things are being converted into priceless items that people never thought, you know, can be valuable. Yeah, it's a wonderful work you're doing as well. Thank you. Now let's turn to other environmental matters, where a 26-year-old Hamajam Sudi from Cross River State won the maiden edition of the 10 kilometers road race christened Mangrove Marathon in Warri, Delta State. Now the race is organized to raise awareness of the depletion of the mangroves in the rainforest of the Niger Delta.
Starting from Airport Road in Efrun, the race has participants from all walks of life for a mission to draw attention of the government and various stakeholders to the fast depleting mangroves in the oil-rich region. As the race continues, the number of runners reduces as not everyone has the perseverance to go the extra mile. At the end, 26-year-old Hamadja Sodi emerged victorious as Charity Agofure won the female category.
I'm so happy to be here, and this is my second competition here in Warri. I was here for the previous marathon, but I'm so happy. I'm glad they are always organizing competition like this.
I'm so happy for the first edition Mangrove Marathon. It was not easy for me to train to get to stage, to be an elite athlete, be a first position.
But the bigger picture and the reason for the race is not lost in the victory celebration. Organizers want deliberate actions taken to preserve the rainforest.
The essence is to create awareness to the general public, to let them know that mangroves are not just plants, but they are also very vital to the society, because as you can see, they protect the shoreline, which saves us from flooding and other things.
So you see our women going into the mangroves to pick periwinkle. It is the mangrove that supports that industry. Or you see them going to harvest oyster, crayfish. It is the mangrove ecosystem that supports this. Without these mangroves, we wouldn't have this seafood. And as you all know, the mangroves in the Niger Delta faces a lot of challenges, among which is the pollution, oil pollution, the depopulation of the environment as a result of oil exploration and exploitation. That is major. Then we also have another challenge facing the mangrove ecosystem. That is the invasive species called nipple palm. It is ravaging the mangroves from Oron, Calabar area.
According to the United Nations, the escalating destruction and degradation of mangroves, driven by land conversion to aquaculture and agriculture, coastal development and pollution, is occurring at an alarming rate, with over a quarter of the Earth's original mangrove cover now lost.
Following reports of refuse heaps dotting the mega city and complaints of the Waste Management Agency not fulfilling its mandate, the Lagos Waste Management Authority has attributed it to heavy rainfall in the past few weeks, which prevented its evacuation efforts. It is now carrying out night operations to clear the backlog of waste in the shortest possible time. Lagos, a rapidly growing megacity, is home to more than 20 million people. With this huge population comes with human and material waste. The agency saddled with the responsibility of collecting waste in the metropolis reveals that each household generates about 0.65 kilograms daily, which amounts to 13,000 metric tons. And delivering this service often poses a challenge for the agency if it fails to collect at least 10% of the waste generated in the city. In recent times, there had been reports of indiscriminate dumping of waste at unauthorized locations, and this has enraged residents who expressed dissatisfaction on the operations of the Waste Management Agency.
Nowadays, if you go around, you see waste littered here and there. So the Lawma, they're not really doing their work. So every Wednesday, if I'm going out, I will bring out the bin. Sometimes when I bring it out, it will stay there for 3 days. They will not come. So when you meet them, you call them, they say their truck, is faulty or lack of diesel. they're not getting diesel or no money. No, they'll have one excuse to give.
We pay 10,000 naira for the disposal of the waste, and it's quite appalling that even at paying such a huge amount for 4 flats, a particular building, and we hardly see them come around to, pick up this waste.
When bins are full and, spilling over before they are being taken away, there is a high risk of people getting, infected and the environment being inconducive for people. So it is something that can be improved upon because it's a services that people are paying for actually.
So we need government intervention, that government should persuade them that they should come and collect our refuse at regular intervals, 2 or 3 times a week and about 4 times or 5 times in a month.
In response to this concern, the agency decided to begin night operations to clear the backlog of waste across the metropolis. It blames poor attitude to waste management, heavy rainfall, and the rising price of diesel, which has negatively affected waste evacuation efforts of the private sector participant operators and the agency. Refuse heaps are a common sight in Lagos where residents in communities such as this one simply dispose trash on streets and major highways rather than using a bin.
One of the major issues that we always encounter is that, like you observe when we were coming, our vehicles had actually walked ahead, yet we can still observe some pocket of waste at those street junctions. Many people are actually recalcitrant. They don't want to patronize PSP. And that is the major issue we have because we have enough PSP operator within this axis.
Normally we do rehabilitation twice every year, before the end of the year and at the middle of the year. Unfortunately, that was not done this year for some reasons, and then we had to start very late. So almost all the platforms were damaged, and then rain was there, the rain was so heavy. So all of that were factors that contributed to the increase in the turnaround time, and then it slowed down our operations.
We have gotten a proposal already to review and to do a dual fuel usage between the gas and diesel so that we can maximize our costs for effective truck performance.
To separate your waste from separate organic waste separately, recyclable separately, and we have also gone far ahead, meeting all the engaging stakeholders and advocacy programs, on the benefit of recycling, so that the wet recycling creates an ability to even manage waste efficiently and effectively.
My advice is for them to patronize the PSP operator, the assigned PSP operator, then to bag their waste as at when due.
But during one of the night operations, some of the environment enforcement officials caught one Juan defecating in an open drainage channel. And from what we captured with our lens, it was obvious that many living here found this place as their only means of convenience.
We will cover this and clear up the whole area and make sure that this doesn't happen again. And I think that we need advocacy in this area. We need more education. We need to educate them. And if we see that there are no toilets around, we will do public toilets and make sure that they can go in there and just do what they want to do, not openly defecating on the road and in the drainages.
The Waste Management Agency is not resting on its oars, as it is ready to explore other alternatives to reduce waste in the mega city, and even work towards converting one of the landfills as a power station.
We want to get to a stage whereby Lagos will be there to guarantee 24 hours light, and then we can continue to do business as a smart city. We have a very strong base in Lagos to be able to build on from there to deliver our ultimate goal, and then be a pace setter for other states and Nigeria across, for everyone to see what we are doing. But we're leading from the front, and we're definitely doing it. And I want to correct the notion out there that people will say, "Oh, Lagos, we are not there. We are not a dirty city." There's a lot of hand that puts this place to be a clean city when you wake up in the morning. We just need to change our attitude.
While the agency may appear to set things back on track with a likely possibility of a price review for collection fees, Residents are asking the agency to live up to its expectation in ensuring the state achieves the status of a cleaner and healthier smart city. And that's about it on this week's edition of Green Angle. Until I come your way next time, remember, together we can build a sustainable world. I am Esther Makwariola. Bye for now.